I found out I didn't exist the day my grandmother died. Not the way I thought I did, anyway. It started with a Bible hitting the floor, a photograph slipping out, and 5 words written on the back that made my blood run cold. Forgive me for the lie. I was alone in her bedroom. The funeral was over. Everyone had gone home, and I was just trying to pack up her things without falling apart. But when I reached for that old leather Bible on her nightstand, it slipped, pages fluttered, and out fell a photograph I'd never seen before. A young woman holding a newborn baby, both of them staring at the camera like they were saying goodbye. The woman was my grandmother, 50 years younger, terrified, holding a tiny infant wrapped in white. And on the back, those 5 words, in her handwriting, shaking, desperate. Forgive me for the lie. My hands went numb, my vision blurred, because I knew that baby, and I knew the lie was about to destroy everything. Let me tell you how one hidden photograph revealed a family secret so dark, we almost didn't survive it. Asked if she was okay, she'd smile and say, "Just remembering, sweetheart, just remembering." I never knew what she was remembering. Mom and Uncle Tom didn't talk about the past much either. Whenever I asked about their childhood, they'd give short answers. It was fine. We were happy. Grandma did her best. But there was always something unsaid hanging in the air.
Quite fit. Like how Grandma never talked about her own parents, or why there were no baby pictures of my mom before she turned 2, or why Uncle Tom looked nothing like anyone else in the family. Different eyes, different smile, different everything. I never questioned it. Families are just like that sometimes, right? Not everyone looks the same. But after Grandma Rose died, those little cracks started to widen. The funeral was small and quiet, just family and a few neighbors. Mom cried so hard she could barely stand. Uncle Tom sat stone-faced in the front row, hands folded, staring at the casket like he was trying to memorize her face one last time. Afterward, we had to clean out her house. It felt wrong, packing up her things like she was never coming back, but we had no choice. That's when I volunteered to handle her bedroom. I thought maybe being alone with her things would help me say goodbye. I wish I'd known what I was about to find. Because when that Bible fell and that photo slipped out, everything I thought I knew about my family shattered like glass. I picked up the photograph with trembling hands. The woman in the picture was definitely my grandmother. Younger, maybe 20 years old, with dark curls pinned back and eyes full of worry. She was sitting in a wooden chair, holding a tiny baby wrapped in a white blanket. The baby's face was barely visible, just a little nose and closed eyes. But it was the expression on Grandma's face that broke my heart. She wasn't smiling. She looked terrified, like she was holding something precious that could be taken away at any moment. I flipped the photo over again. Forgive me for the lie. What lie? My mind started racing. Was this my mom or Uncle Tom? Why would she need forgiveness for a baby picture? I sat down on her bed, staring at the photo, trying to make sense of it. That's when I noticed something else. Tucked inside the Bible, between the pages of Psalms, was a folded piece of paper, yellowed with age, the edges soft and worn, like it had been opened and refolded 1,000 times. My heart pounded as I unfolded it. It was a letter, handwritten in careful, slanted cursive.
Dear Rose, I know this is the hardest thing you'll ever do, but you're giving this child a chance at a better life. You're doing the right thing. Don't ever doubt that. She'll never know the sacrifice you made, but I will. And I'll make sure she's loved every single day. Thank you for trusting me. With love, Margaret. I read it again and again. Who was Margaret? And what child was she talking about? I felt dizzy. My hands went cold. I looked at the photo again, then at the letter, then back at the photo. No, this couldn't mean what I thought it meant. I stumbled out of the bedroom, the photo clutched in my hand, the letter shaking between my fingers. I found my mom in the kitchen, packing dishes into cardboard boxes. "Mom," I said, my voice barely a whisper, "I found something." She turned around, her eyes red from crying. "What is it, honey?" I held out the photo. Her face went white, completely white, like all the blood drained out of her in a single second. "Where did you find that?" she whispered. "In Grandma's Bible, with this." I handed her the letter. Mom took it with shaking hands. She read it once, twice. Then she sank into a chair, covering her mouth with her hand. "Mom!" My voice cracked. "What does this mean?" She didn't answer. She just stared at the letter, tears streaming down her face. That's when Uncle Tom walked in. He saw the photo in my hand, saw the letter in Mom's, and he froze in the doorway. "Where did you get that?" he asked, his voice sharp. "Grandma's Bible," I said. "Tom, what is this? Who's Margaret? What lie is she talking about?" Uncle Tom's jaw clenched. He looked at my mom. "Does she know?" Mom shook her head, sobbing. I didn't think she'd ever find out." "Find out what?" I demanded, my voice rising. "What are you talking about? Will someone please just tell me the truth?" The silence that followed felt like it lasted forever. Finally, Mom looked up at me with broken, tear-filled eyes. "Sweetheart," she whispered, "that baby in the photo, that's me." My heart stopped. "What?" And the woman holding me, she took a shaky breath. "That's not my mother." The room spun. I grabbed the counter to steady myself. "What do you mean that's not your mother? That's Grandma Rose. I can see her face." "Yes," Mom said quietly, "that's Rose. But Rose wasn't my biological mother." I couldn't breathe. "What?" Uncle Tom stepped forward, his voice low and heavy. "Your grandmother, she adopted your mom when she was 3 days old. She never told anyone, not even us. We only found out a few years ago, right before Grandma got sick." But why?" I whispered. "Why would she lie? Why would she hide it?" "Because she loved me," Mom said, tears pouring down her face. "And she was ashamed. Ashamed that she couldn't have her own baby. Ashamed of what people would think. Back then, adoption wasn't talked about. It was hidden, secret. She thought if anyone knew, they'd treat me differently. So she pretended I was hers. I felt like the floor was falling out from under me. But you said you only found out a few years ago. How?" Mom wiped her eyes. "Grandma told us when she got her diagnosis. She made us promise not to tell you. She didn't want you to think less of her. She didn't want the secret to hurt the family." "Hurt the family?" I felt anger rising in my chest. "She lied to everyone for 50 years. She lied to you.
How could she do that? Uncle Tom's voice was quiet. Because she was scared. She was young and desperate and wanted a child more than anything. And when she got the chance, she held on tight and never let go.
I looked down at the photo again, at young Grandma Rose, holding that tiny baby with so much fear in her eyes. And suddenly, I didn't know how to feel. Angry? Sad? Betrayed? But what I didn't know yet, what Mom and Uncle Tom were too afraid to say, was that the secret went even deeper than I thought. I couldn't let it go. For the next 3 days, I barely slept. I kept looking at that photo, reading that letter, trying to piece together the truth. Who was Margaret? Where had my mom really come from? And why did Grandma feel like she needed forgiveness? Mom wouldn't talk about it. Every time I brought it up, she'd change the subject or start crying. Uncle Tom was the same way. Let it rest, he'd say. Grandma's gone. The past is the past. But I couldn't let it rest because something about the story didn't add up. If Grandma adopted my mom legally, why the secrecy? Why the shame? Adoption isn't a crime. And why did she hide the photo like it was dangerous? I had to know more.
So, I went back to Grandma's house, alone this time. I told Mom I wanted to finish packing the bedroom, but really, I was looking for answers. I started searching through drawers, through closets, through boxes in the attic that smelled like dust and old memories. And that's when I found it. A small wooden box hidden under the floorboards beneath Grandma's bed. It was locked, but the wood was old and soft. I pried it open with a screwdriver from the garage. Inside were more letters. Dozens of them, all addressed to Rose, all from Margaret. My hands shook as I read them. Rose, she's beautiful. She has your eyes. I wish you could see her. Rose, she said her first word today. She said, "Mama, I thought of you." Rose, I know you made the right choice, but I also know it's breaking your heart. I didn't understand. These letters made it sound like Margaret was raising my mom, not Grandma Rose. But that didn't make sense. Mom grew up with Grandma. Mom called her Mama.
Then I found a letter dated 2 years after my mom was born. "Dear Rose, I'm so sorry. I know this wasn't the plan. I know you trusted me to raise her, but I'm sick. The doctors say I don't have much time. I need you to take her back. I need you to be her mother now. Please, Rose, she needs you." And beneath that letter was another one, this time in Grandma Rose's handwriting. "Dear Margaret, I'll come for her tomorrow. Tell her I'm her aunt. Tell her I'm going to take care of her for a little while. When she's older, I'll tell her the truth. I promise. I'll tell her about you. I'll tell her everything. But right now, she's too young. She won't understand. Forgive me for being a coward, but I just want to protect her from the pain. With love, Rose." The truth hit me like a train. Grandma Rose hadn't adopted my mom from a stranger. She'd given birth to her. My mom was her biological daughter, but Grandma couldn't keep her. Maybe she was too young, maybe she wasn't married, maybe her family forced her to give the baby away. So she gave my mom to Margaret, probably a friend or a relative, and Margaret raised her for 2 years. But then Margaret got sick, and Grandma had to take my mom back.
But by then, my mom didn't know who Rose really was. She thought Rose was just her aunt, and Rose, too ashamed and scared to tell the truth, let her believe it. She raised my mom as her own, pretending she'd adopted her, never admitting she was her real mother. And she carried that secret until the day she died. Tears streamed down my face. I sat on the floor, surrounded by letters, holding the photo of my grandmother, so young, so scared, holding her baby for what she thought might be the last time. I understood now. The fear in her eyes wasn't fear of judgment. It was fear of goodbye. She thought she'd never see her daughter again. She thought she was doing the right thing by giving her baby a better life. But life had other plans. And when she got her daughter back, she was too afraid to tell the truth, too afraid of the questions, too afraid of the pain. So she buried it, and she lived with it, and she carried it like a weight on her chest for 50 years. I grabbed my phone and called my mom. "Mom," I said, my voice shaking, "I found more letters. I know the truth. All of it." There was a long silence on the other end. Then, quietly, she said, "I know, sweetheart. I've always known." My breath caught. "You knew? You knew she was your real mother?" "I found out 5 years ago," Mom whispered. "When Grandma told us about the adoption, I started digging. I found some of the letters. I confronted her, and she broke down and told me everything." "Then why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Because she begged me not to," Mom said, crying now. "She was so ashamed. She thought you'd hate her for lying. She thought you'd see her differently. So I promised I'd keep the secret, even after she died." "But Mom," I whispered, "I could never hate her. She gave up everything for you. She made the hardest choice a mother can make. Twice." And that's when I realized something. Grandma Rose didn't need my forgiveness. She needed to forgive herself. I drove to the cemetery that same afternoon. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Grandma's grave was still fresh, the dirt dark and unsettled, the flowers from the funeral starting to wilt. I sat down on the grass next to her headstone and pulled out the photograph, the one of her holding my mom, the one that had started all of this. "Hi, Grandma," I whispered. "I found your secret." The wind blew softly, rustling the leaves in the trees above me. For a moment, it almost felt like she was there, listening. "I'm not mad," I said, my voice breaking. "I just wish you told me. I wish you told all of us, because there's nothing to be ashamed of, Grandma. Nothing at all." Tears streamed down my face as I stared at her name carved in stone. Rose Marie Thompson, beloved mother and grandmother. "You were her mother," I whispered. "You always were, from the moment she was born, even when you had to let her go, even when you thought you'd never see her again. You were her mother." I thought about all the times I'd seen Grandma with my mom, the way she looked at her, the way she held her hand during hard times, the way she'd do anything to protect her. That wasn't the love of an adoptive mother. That was the love of a woman who'd been given a second chance to raise the child she thought she'd lost forever. And she'd taken that chance and poured everything she had into it. "I understand now," I said softly. "I understand why you lied. You were protecting her, protecting all of us. You didn't want us to feel the pain you felt. You didn't want us to carry the weight of the secret. But the truth is, keeping secrets doesn't protect people. It just makes the pain last longer. That evening, I sat down with my mom and Uncle Tom at Grandma's kitchen table. The same table where we'd shared so many meals, so many laughs, so many moments. "We need to talk," I said. Mom's eyes were red and swollen. She looked exhausted. Uncle Tom looked the same, like they'd been carrying something too heavy for too long.
"I'm not angry," I said. "I'm just sad. Sad that Grandma lived her whole life thinking we'd judge her, thinking we'd love her less if we knew the truth." Mom reached across the table and took my hand. "She was from a different time, sweetheart. Back then, having a baby outside of marriage was the worst thing a woman could do. Her family disowned her. Her church shamed her. She had nowhere to go, so she gave you up to protect you from that shame." "But she got you back," I said. "That's what matters." "She did," Mom whispered. "And she loved me more than anything in this world. But she also lived in fear every single day that someone would find out, that someone would take me away from her, that someone would tell me the truth and I'd hate her for lying." "But you didn't hate her," I said. "Did you?" Mom shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "No. When I found out, I was shocked. I was confused. But I wasn't angry. I understood, and I forgave her." "Did you tell her that?" I asked. Mom nodded. "I told her every day for the last 5 years of her life. I told her I loved her. I told her she was the best mother I could have ever asked for. I told her the secret didn't change anything." "And?" I asked. But most of all, I was grateful that in the end, she found the courage to tell the truth. Because that's what love is, not perfection, not hiding, but honesty, even when it's hard. That night, I went back to Grandma's house one last time. I took the photo, the letters, and the old Bible, and I put them in a box, not to hide them, but to keep them safe. Because this was our family's story, the real story, the messy, complicated, beautiful story of a woman who made impossible choices and loved with everything she had, and it deserved to be remembered, not with shame, but with honor. It's been a year since I found that photograph, a year since I learned the truth about my grandmother, about my mom, about the secret that shaped our entire family. And I've learned something important, something I'll carry with me for the rest of my life.
Secrets don't protect the people we love. They protect us from having to face the truth. Grandma Rose didn't hide her story to protect my mom. She hid it to protect herself from the shame she'd been carrying since she was 20 years old. Shame that was never hers to carry in the first place. Because there's nothing shameful about being young and scared. There's nothing shameful about making a hard choice. There's nothing shameful about giving your child to someone else because you thought it was best for them. And there's definitely nothing shameful about taking that child back and raising them with every ounce of love in your heart. But Grandma didn't know that. She lived in a time when women were judged for things that weren't their fault, when being an unwed mother meant losing everything, when secrets were safer than the truth. So she buried her story, and she carried it alone until it almost buried her.
I think about that a lot now. About how many people are walking around carrying secrets that are eating them alive. Secrets about their past, their mistakes, their pain. secrets they think will destroy them if anyone finds out. But the truth is, secrets are like poison. They don't just hurt the person keeping them, they hurt everyone around them too. My mom spent 50 years thinking she was adopted by a woman who chose her out of kindness. She never knew she was loved by a woman who gave birth to her, who held her for 3 days before saying goodbye, who thought about her every single day for 2 years, who took her back the moment she could. That's a completely different story. A more painful story, but also a more beautiful one. And my mom deserved to know it, not because it changed who she was, but because it changed why she was loved. Grandma didn't love my mom because she chose to adopt her. She loved her because she was her daughter, her blood, her heart. And that kind of love is fiercer than anything. Since finding the truth, I've started asking more questions, not just about Grandma, but about everyone in my life. I started listening more, paying attention to the things people don't say, the silences between words, the looks that linger too long. Because I've learned that everyone has a story. Everyone has pain they're hiding. Everyone has a secret they think will ruin them if it comes out. But the truth is, most secrets lose their power the moment they're spoken out loud. I wish Grandma had known that. I wish she'd told us sooner, not because we needed to know, but because she needed to let it go. Carrying shame for 50 years is too long. Living in fear of judgment for 50 years is too long. Believing you're unworthy of forgiveness for 50 years is too long. No one should have to live like that. So here's what I've learned. Here's the lesson I want to pass on. If you're carrying a secret that's hurting you, tell someone. Tell someone you trust, someone who loves you, someone who won't judge you. Because the thing you're most afraid of, rejection, shame, judgment, is almost never as bad as you think it's going to be. And the relief you'll feel when you finally let it go, that's worth everything. I also learned something else, something just as important. If someone you love tells you their secret, hold it gently. Don't judge them. Don't shame them. Just listen. Just love them. Because it took everything they had to tell you. And your response will either set them free or bury them deeper. My mom's response to Grandma's confession was grace. Pure, beautiful grace. She didn't get angry. She didn't demand explanations. She just said, "I love you." And nothing will ever change that. And that's what gave Grandma permission to finally forgive herself. That's what I want for all of us. Permission to be human. Permission to make mistakes. Permission to have messy, complicated stories that don't fit into neat little boxes. Because life isn't neat. Love isn't neat. Family definitely isn't neat. But it's ours, and it's real. And it's beautiful in all its broken, imperfect ways. I keep that photograph on my desk now. The one of young Grandma Rose holding baby mom with fear and love in her eyes. Every time I look at it, I'm reminded that people are more than the worst thing they've ever done. They're more than their mistakes. They're more than their secrets. They're the sum of every choice they made, every tear they cried, every moment they chose love, even when it was hard. And Grandma Rose, she chose love over and over and over again. She chose it when she gave her baby away to give her a better life. She chose it when she took her back and raised her alone. She chose it every single day for 50 years. even when it meant carrying a secret that was breaking her heart. That's not shame. That's sacrifice. That's courage. That's love. And now, whenever I feel distance between me and the people I love, I remember that photograph. I remember Grandma's secret, and I remember the lesson she taught me, even after she was gone. Don't let shame build walls between you and the people you love. Don't let fear keep you from telling the truth. Don't let secrets steal the connection you could have if you were just brave enough to be honest. Because life is too short, and love is too precious. And the people who matter will always choose you, even when they know your whole story, especially when they know your whole story. So if you're reading this and you're carrying something heavy, let me tell you what I wish someone had told my grandma 50 years ago. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of forgiveness. You are worthy of peace. And the secret you're keeping, it doesn't define you. Your love defines you. Your courage defines you. Your heart defines you. Let it go. Tell your story. Trust the people who love you. Because the truth might hurt for a moment, but secrets hurt forever. And now, whenever I feel disconnected from my family, whenever I feel like there's something unsaid hanging in the air, I think of that old photograph falling out of the Bible. I think of how one moment of truth can heal 50 years of pain, and I choose honesty every single time. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your story too, because we all have one, and they all deserve to be told.